We're going to go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome everybody today. I am President Irene Bustamante Adams, and we'll call this regular board meeting of April 24, 2025 to order. The time is 5 p.m. I would like to remind everyone to silence your electronic devices. We acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the territorial homeland of the Nuwu, the Moapa Band of Paiutes, and the Las Vegas Band of Paiutes. We're going to go ahead and start with our flag salute, and Trustee Esparza Strafagan will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and the presentation of colors will be led by the Clark High School ROTC.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Before I open up item 1.02, is there anyone who did not get a chance to complete a public speaker card? If not, please do so now. Okay, then I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Trustee Dominguez?
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, I would like to make a motion to adopt the agenda with the following changes. Reference material has been provided for item 3.03, legislative update. Reference material has been provided for item 3.06, employment agreement. Deputy Superintendent Teaching and Learning. Reference material has been provided for item 3.07, employment agreement, Deputy Superintendent Business Operations.
Thank you. Trustee Barron?
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to second as amended and noted.
Thank you. Please cast your votes. That motion passes 7-0. We're going to go now to our consent agenda information. Before I open the consent agenda, is there anyone who did not get a chance to complete a public speaker card? So I do have I'm going to have two individuals come up. Kendall Shopsman, did I say it right? Kendall, and then also Miss Vicki Frazier. Foster. Oh. I only have, no, it's Miss Cradell. I have a Vicki Foster, and then I have you for 3.04. Is that right? Okay. Either stance you could take, Mr. Kendall. Please just state your name for the record and proceed.
Kendall Shopman.
Go right ahead.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Kendall Shopman, and I'm here as a parent and educational advocate for my minor son, Oliver Shopman. I wish to address the serious violations of my parental rights regarding Oliver's education. On or about August 1st, 2023, Oliver was approved to be retained in the 8th grade and placed in the CCSD approved homeschool program. Keyword, approved. The decision was made following a series of traumatic events that deeply affected our family and subsequently impacted Oliver's health.
Mr. Shopsman, I'm
Yes,
going to
ma'am.
ask to pause your time for a second. Is there a specific consent agenda item that you would like to reference? And so, or there might be like a public comment, which is at another time, and it's 4.01. Is there a specific consent agenda item that you'd like to speak to, or is this about Oliver and maybe a different topic?
This is about Oliver being reclassed
Okay.
and Shadow Ridge High School bumping him up to 10th grade when he
Okay.
has never attended high school at
Got
all.
it. Thank you. So then we are going to have you be at 4.01.
Okay.
And so I will call you back up.
Yes, ma'am.
And are you guys at the
Yes,
same topic?
I
Okay.
thought it was under, I think it's 2.23 regarding the changes to the R5111, which I believe has to do with the age restrictions.
And tell me the number one more time.
I believe it's 2.23, which I learned today when I
2.23.
filled out the card.
Okay.
For policy, CCSD policy R5111, if I'm recalling correctly.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So then, just for the record, it is going to be item 2.23 on the consent agenda, so I'll ask you guys to proceed. Now, I'm going to restart your time, so Mr. Kendall, please go forward.
In light of these challenges, we agreed to withdraw and retain him to give him the support he needed. However, upon returning to the classroom setting in the fall of 2024, I was alarmed to discover that an admin from Shadow Ridge High School had, without consent, promoted Oliver to the 10th grade. This all happened without any clear legal reasoning. The decision had resulted in Oliver becoming credit deficient for graduation, which is unacceptable. I want to highlight that at no point was I informed of potential repercussions regarding retention, nor was I consulted about the promotion process that followed. The actions taken by the school broken systems appeared to disregard my rights as a parent and advocate. The actions taken injured my minor son. The actions taken by CCSD are unethical. As a parent, I refuse to believe any of you would allow any sort of injury to your child. I'm requesting a formal explanation regarding the decision to promote Oliver, including with applicable NRS statute that justify this action. There seems to be no legal basis for such a decision without parental consent, and I must insist on clarity regarding the rationale behind this process. My son's education is the utmost importance, and it is crucial to the school district that the school district operates within the ethical boundaries and respects the rights of our family. It is unacceptable to punish a child due to what appears to be the procedural failures. I cannot simply understand or accept what has taken place. CCSD has clearly acted with malice, making choices that are not in the best interest of my student. Thank you for hearing my concerns.
Thank you. And then, are you Ms. Foster? Yes. Okay, please proceed.
My name is Vicki Foster. I'm here today as a parent and advocate for my son, Dylan Foster, to address serious concerns regarding a grade classification decision made by CCSD that we believe violates our parental rights and has negatively impacted Dylan's education. In August of 2023, we made the decision to homeschool Dylan for the 23-24 school year. We followed all legal requirements, received approval from the state of Nevada, and submitted our academic plan to CCSD. Our decision was based on what we believed was in Dylan's best interest. He was not emotionally or academically ready for high school, and as his parents, we felt strongly he needed more time. However, when Dylan re-enrolled for the 24-25 school year, after being in Shadow Ridge for 3 weeks, we had been advised that he was being promoted to the 10th grade despite not earning any high school credits during his homeschool year. His schedule was changed without our consent, and despite repeated outreach to district leadership, we still have not received a clear or legal explanation for this decision. The promotion has left Dylan credit deficient and put him at a disadvantage through no fault of his own. We provided CCSD with a full academic plan showing he was not taking high school level courses. If there were potential consequences to this decision, why weren't we informed at that time? What was the purpose of submitting the plan if it isn't reviewed or considered by CCSD? What's even more concerning is that other families who took the same path have not faced this issue. Students in similar situations have been allowed to re-enter as 9th graders. This inconsistency raises serious concerns about fairness, transparency, and procedural integrity. I was even told by a CCSD employee for over 15 years, students returning from homeschool have been able to re-enter at the grade level appropriate for their academic process, not automatically promoted based on age. Why has this suddenly changed? Additionally, Dylan is only 15 years old. Even if he remained a 9th grader, he would still be 18 years old at graduation. Pushing him to graduate early doesn't serve his best interest academically or developmentally. Throughout this process, I have repeatedly requested a formal written explanation citing the NRS statutes that allow CCSD to override a parent's educational decision, To date, I received nothing. If CCSD truly believes the decision is justified, there should be no hesitation in providing the reasoning in writing. My husband and I are committed, involved parents. Our oldest son graduated with honors, earned his bachelor's degree. Our daughter is currently graduating this year with a 3.8 GPA and is college bound. We have always made decisions that put our children's education and well-being first. We're not trying to hold Dylan back. We are trying to give him the tools and the time he needs to succeed. It is.
Sorry, thank you for that. We can also take your written testimony and make sure it's part of the record. So thank you, both. Okay, with that then, seeing no other yellow comment cards, do I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda? Trustee Dominguez.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to move to motion to adopt the consent agenda as is.
Thank you. Trustee Biassatti.
I will second that motion.
Thank you. I have a first and a second. Please cast your votes. That motion passes 7-0. With that, we're going to go ahead and move to agenda item 3.01. And I'm going to turn this over to our new superintendent to introduce the item. And today is her 9th day. Oh, I forgot the warrants. But while you're getting ready, I'm going to have Trustee Henry put the warrants into the record.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I will ratify warrants as listed in the bills payable, transmittal, and board memorandum number 17-24-25 in the total amount of $191,345,119.87.
Thank you. Now we'll move over to our Superintendent Ebert.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. For the record, Superintendent Ebert. Tonight, we are pleased to bring back the 2015 Capital Improvement Plan revision. I want to thank all of the trustees for the opportunity for allowing me to meet with the team and go through the months, years worth of work that they have completed. And so this evening, we bring to you a proposal and to answer some clarifying questions that you had as well. And so with that, I'd love to turn it over to the team.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert, for the record, Brandon McLaughlin, Assistant Superintendent for our Construction Development Division. So like Superintendent Ebert covered on March 27th, the board did hear and approve a portion of the Capital Improvement Plan Revision 6. I'm actually going to jump right to slide 8 because that's where we predominantly left off, which you guys approved. Recommendation 1, which was to build a new elementary school in the Sky Canyon portion of the valley, that was approved. Recommendation 2A, to continue replacing Matt Kelly Elementary School, was also approved, with the reopening set for school year 27-28. Recommendation 2 was tabled to allow input from the new superintendent. I've since met with Superintendent Ebert to discuss pausing future school construction to support our comprehensive facility master plan process to assess how we use our limited capital funds. I'll be referencing different parts of the March 27th presentation as well as some updated reference material to best address the questions and clarify any misconceptions we've heard since the presentation last month. So we'll first jump to slide 7 and I'll invite Mr. Rick Baldwin.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert, Rick Baldwin for the record, Director of Comprehensive Planning. First, I'd like to address some misconceptions about the declining birth rates and enrollments of new students from residential developments in Clark County School District. First, it is important to distinguish between fertility rates and birth rates, which are often used interchangeably, but are different. Fertility rates refer to the number of live births per 1,000 women aged 15 to 44. In contrast, birth rates measure the number of live births per 1,000 people in the general population. This is not inclusive of age or gender. Both rates have been declining nationally since 2007, according to the Center of Health Statistics. The U.S. fertility rate fell from 69.3 births per 1,000 women in 2007 to 54.5 in 2023, a 23.35% drop. Nevada saw a 28% decline during this period, ranking fourth among U.S. states. Our neighboring states, Utah and Arizona, ranked first and second with declines of 34% and 32%, respectively. The national birth rate dropped from 2.12 in 2007 to 1.66 in 2022, excuse me, in a 21.7% decrease. In Clark County, while the population grew by 14.4% from 2 million people in 2007 to 2.3 million people in 2022, the birth rate declined 30% from 1.53 to 1.08 births per 1,000 residents. This trend is also seen in our student yield formula, which estimates how many new students come from new homes. In 2007, 22 elementary school students were expected from 100 single-family homes. By 2023, that number dropped by 214, a 7-student drop per 100 homes. Each year, about 30,000 students, a 10% of the CCSD enrollment, enter and leave CCSD through in and out migration. Comprehensive planning tracks this annually. In-migration includes students enrolled this year who were not enrolled last year. Out-migration refers to students enrolled last year that did not return the following year. There are two types of migration. One we refer to as natural migration. This includes the incoming kindergarten and the graduating seniors. Then we refer to the true migration, which excludes both of these groups respectively, and this reflects a better shift in the enrollment across all grade levels. Because graduating classes are larger, the incoming kindergarten group, the natural out migration, typically exceeds the natural in-migration. However, the true in-migration gives a clearer picture of these enrollment trends. In 2024, for the first time since the 2021-22, CCSD saw a net in-migration 548 students, or 0.19%. And this increase is largely due to the legislative change which we referenced earlier and the incoming kindergarten eligibility of the overall population. In short, while people continue to move to Clark County, especially retirees, the number of children per household is shrinking. Graduation rates are outpacing new student enrollments, leading to continued declining school-age populations.
Great, thanks, Rick. We'll now jump ahead to slide 14 from our previous presentation. So I just want to highlight a key goal of the facility master plan is to evaluate our current campuses while exploring opportunities to expand our programs that support student readiness and our graduates' competitiveness in the global marketplace. And I want us to imagine a few scenarios. What if our schools operated as tutoring centers throughout the day? What if we had space to offer more pre-K programs throughout the district, and we're able to better provide buildings that suited modern, say, competency-based instructional models? These are some of the questions that we'll aim to answer during the 1 year of pause of new construction contracts over the next year. Before we move on to reference material C, I do want to clarify a misconception that we've heard from March of 2025, and it regards our bonding process. So a part of the consent agenda today was the district is currently seeking approval for $400 million in general obligation bonds and $200 million in revenue-backed bonds as a part of our customary general obligation bond approval process. Exhibit A that was attached to a reference material item in the Bond Oversight Committee on Tuesday of this week shows that the district has $770 million in active construction contracts for design, construction, and other related professional services, with approximately $339.9 million in available capital dollars. So this district still needs, and why they're seeking the $400 million issuance right now through the oversight panel process, the debt management process, is that we still need $430.6 million in bond funding to meet the obligations of fiscal year 2026 and into 2027. And some have also questioned, why is the district seeking more funding while they're pausing construction? So certainly, I just want to clarify, I believe that's a misunderstanding. The pause only affects future construction contracts, not active construction sites. We're simply desiring to hold off on any new commitments to ensure that we have alignment with our long-term needs of our capital improvement program. So we'll then jump over to reference material C. If I can have that brought up, please. Now, projects approved in December of 2021 totaled $3.5 billion, and due to continued escalation and inflation, has grown to over $5.1 billion, leaving a $1.6 billion funding gap ahead of our 2035 bond authorization allowance. This meant that we are currently on track to simply not be able to complete projects as a function of time, not necessarily of the strategic need or the condition of the schools on this listing. So pausing these projects for 1 year helps to avoid misallocating funds to initiatives that an updated facility master plan may no longer support, or may be better repurposed to align with those future needs we identify with the community, with the trustees, and the process that's ongoing. In early 2026, when the facility master plan has concluded, if the board were to pause the current listing of projects, the board would then have approximately $3.5 billion available to implement the recommendations of that plan. You'll also notice the list has been updated for clarity. There's the yellow, and there's the indicators of critical projects that are at risk of falling 5 months behind due to various factors, including the board and superintendent uncertainty over the past year that prevented these recommendations from coming forward sooner. Additionally, community and media concerns we've obtained or heard feedback since March have focused on any inequities in school condition, age, capacity, or its location. I just want to clarify the schools on this list span areas from the Upper East Side to our rural communities and everything in between. And we've got schools that range from 50% underutilized as well as 123% overcrowded. Additionally, the pause projects aren't tied to necessarily the highest facility condition index score, but merely they're just earlier in the replacement schedule of the domino effect of trying to replace certain schools in a sequence that makes sense and keeps students either on their campus or at a swing campus as we replace them. So in option B of this, if the board chooses not to pause these projects, we would then ask approval for approximately $718 million in construction contracts and $32 million in design services for the yellow highlighted critical projects. Now, just to set comparison, in early 2026, when the facility master plan has concluded, the board would then have approximately only $2.4 billion available to implement the recommendations at that time. So that concludes our presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I'm going to ask our superintendent to see if she has anything that she would like to add. And then I'm grateful to see in the queue also Trustee Stevens, and I would also like to ask Trustee Esparza-Straffigan. There are representatives in bond oversight and debt management. And so Superintendent Ebert, anything you want to add?
Thank you, Madam President. I would just expand on the team's example that this is an opportunity. The initial list was built in 2020, and, well, 2015 was the initial plan, but the last time this list was looked at was in 2020. We know that our community is changing as presented by the team, and so giving us the year to analyze a campus such as Cashman, you know, right now, as listed, it would be replaced with a middle school. But if we take time and really dive deep into what the community needs, maybe it's a K-8 school, maybe it's a 8-12 school, maybe it's a school where we make sure that we have hands-on engagement with our community, that they actually come in, workforce comes in and partners with us. And so pausing for a year, letting us do that analysis to really dive in on the opportunities for our children is what we're asking.
Thank you. Trustee Stevens?
Sorry. So to kind of echo what Superintendent Ebert just stated, I think it really is important that we do pause, because a lot of things have changed, and while I am new to the Bond Oversight Committee, sitting in on those meetings and really reviewing the documents and what's happening with the financials, and looking at some of the areas where we had originally planned to replace schools, which is a very big budget, it's a very big spend. So when we talk about replacing schools or even modernizing them, another large expense, some of them are in clustered areas, right? So if we go in and we replace those schools, but the enrollment is going down, how much longer would the doors even be open? Would we be able to afford keeping that school open for much longer with the way the numbers are going? So it might make sense to, during this pause, look at those areas and just like the superintendent said, is there an opportunity to do a K-8? Is there an opportunity to look at the situation a little bit differently than maybe what we've done in the past? It would definitely save us some money. But it would also give our kids an opportunity to stay in their area, to have a new school, and to get to stay there potentially even longer than just K-5 if that were, what we decided to do. But I think that there are other solutions that we can start looking at that are going to be a lot more cost effective if we just pause for a second and really take a look at this in a strategic manner.
Thank you. Trustee Barron?
Oh, I had this thing on the entire time. Please excuse me. Thank you very much, Madam President. Yes, I am heartened by our new superintendent's ideas. These are things that were talked about before. Earlier, of course, she talked about the district maybe doing pre-K, which, of course, that will be it'll be very intensive, right? But I think it's very wise. These are things that the charter schools do, right? Well, hey, charter schools also do K-8, right? It hasn't been a problem for them, but yet this district seems to have been kind of like stuck in a past and a time when we really haven't considered these things. I like the idea, as many of my colleagues, like the idea of tapping the brakes and taking a chance to reassess the direction that we're going, both with our population shift. I know that there has been a criticism. Hey, if we don't approve these things now, we know that things are going to be a lot more expensive. But there's a certain economy in taking a step back. There's a certain way of being more efficient by taking back and then not building things that we may not want in 5 or 10 years. Whereas if we take the next year or so, assessing where we need to build and build smarter, build more directed, right, we might actually be saving ourselves quite a bit, in the 10 to 20 years. Again, it's about looking ahead to where we want to be in 10 and 20 years down the line. We have to definitely address some things. There's some schools that are having their roof fall in, right? We definitely need to get those. There's places where you can't get air conditioning in your schools. Hey, J.D. Smith was one of those places that suffered along for years until they knocked the whole darn thing down and gave us a whole new campus. I think we address those, but I think it is much more incumbent to entrust the new direction to our new superintendent and the team that she's building around her. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Trustee Esparza-Straffigan?
Thank you, gentlemen, for the thorough and just skipping to the business and not going back. Thank you. That time is valuable. So I want to say that I will say that having been present for some of the community forum meetings with the company that is doing kind of the assessment of where we should consider, What I really appreciate is the fact that we are listening to the community. What is it the community wants? What is it the community needs? Now, are we going to be able to meet everybody's want and need? We don't have enough money. So I think this is where we are going to be very creative and lean in with our new superintendent and her team and you all to really be creative on what are we going to do going forward. I kind of have a weeds question. So here's the question. People are concerned about how we're prioritizing the resources and how this money is going to be spent. So this is a different use of funds for different needs. So what about the schools that maybe have those immediate needs? Can you explain the difference between where this project funding is going versus what immediate needs are for some schools? Because that's the question that I'm starting to get, being that I'm part of the process for the facilities committee.
Thanks for the question, Trustee Sparza-Strafkin. It's a good two-part response in that I work very closely with our maintenance team. They are fantastic, and they complete as much work as they possibly can with the resources available to them. So they continue to maintenance and pour into our buildings to make our students successful. The other portion of that is in the absence of doing new construction over the next year, we'll continue to be doing modernization work. So we'll continue with some of the more major repairs. And we're very excited about some potential legislation coming out of the session that may allow us to procure construction services a bit more rapidly when those major modernization needs come about.
Thank you for the clarification. So I want to go to an example because people can kind of understand real examples. We have 10 schools perhaps that maybe want security gates installed. How do we prioritize with equity which schools are going to receive that? Now, based on, and I want to help to kind of educate some of our individuals because those are the questions that we get asked so that they understand the process for that and where the money's coming from. It's not this.
Brandon McLaughlin for the record. Yes, that's a separate track of funding. So that's what's called our excess statutory reserve. It's the available cash balance that we demonstrate creditworthiness of our bond program that we, when it hits a certain threshold prescribed by statute and by district regulation, we then spend on some of those lower, less bondable things. You wouldn't go buy a piece of carpet with a 20-year bond. You would buy that with either medium term or this excess statutory reserve. And so that's exactly what some of these security projects are being funded by. Since summer of 2022, the district has prioritized 4 key areas. Single points of entry are CCTV camera augmentations, not full upgrades, but if the cameras have available backboard space, they upgrade them. Also containing our portables. If schools have an abundant amount of portables, we make sure kids can get from a portable back into the building with ease. And then as well as our perimeter fencing. That's if there's any holes along the perimeter, not that we're going to come put an 8-foot fence around every school, but it's just if there's any gaps, we fill those in. That has been a process going on since 2022. We prioritized the high schools. We're now into the middle schools. How the prioritization per grade level band happens is in working with emergency management, we identify where deficiencies in those 4 categories are happening. And the schools with the most amount of deficiencies, and those are our first priorities within those grade level bands.
Thank you. Trustee Satori?
Thank you. I also want to say that I do support the pause. Definitely, this is such an ever-changing valley, and hearing that it's been that long since this was put in place, I'm sure there's a lot of different.
Trustee Satori, can I ask you to pull the
Thank
mic?
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Also, I really appreciate the innovative thinking because I think just the current climate that we are in, both budgetarily and our academic performance, having innovative thinking and doing things a different way, I think is so crucial. And having been a principal of a K-8 and a K-12, sometimes those different structures work so well for different communities. So I think it's really great to kind of think outside the box and think what can best serve our areas. My question, and I don't know, because I know we're mostly talking about the pause, so I don't know if it's okay to ask the question kind of about the community forums and how those are going to be. Okay.
Yes,
is it okay?
please.
Yes, no? Okay. I just want a little bit more information on those community forums. I believe we talked about it a little bit previously, but just kind of how what the format's going to be, how they're going to be communicated, how will that input be collected and disseminated out to us, and just kind of a little bit more detail on how those will look.
Trustee Satori, Brandon McLaughlin for the record. Yes, we're actually underway with the community forums at this moment. So we believe we initially shared it with trustees about a month ago. We then had a series of advertising through the means of the consulting firms that Canon has hired that are local and are oftentimes doing public agency work to get word out there through social media, paid ads, as well as any other community forums, marker or bulletin boards in the coffee shop, type word of mouth. And then a parent link has also gone out, I believe. And then we're addressing additional follow-up, I believe, next week for the remainder of the community forums in the next week and a half. And that'll conclude our spring engagement. Then the team in June, I believe, will bring a data presentation of the facility master plan assessments team. Information so far. We'll then break for the summer. The team will continue to work, but we won't bring anything forward. And ultimately, we'll have a fall engagement that'll be even more robust than the spring engagement. So it'll be more community forums, more stakeholder advisory groups. And the way we will roll that out will be very similar, that we'll let the trustees know when those are happening in collaboration with invitations for you guys to attend and have a role in those. As well, we'll probably bolster the strategy with the communications unit of the district to really make sure we're getting those advertisements out there, because oftentimes the draft options, I'll highlight draft options that'll be presented in the fall, some will have bigger change implications than not. So we want to make sure all voices are there, and we'll advertise to make sure that happens.
On the ones that have already occurred, just as follow-up, what does the attendance look like so far?
Trustee Satori, Brandon McLaughlin for the record. It's ranged anywhere from 2, frankly, but all the way up to about 30, 35. The response that I gave to bond oversight this week, because it was a point of discussion, was in the past when we've had community engagement related to the capital improvement plan, we've had 4, and they're like the 4 Super Bowls around town, and they attend with 45 to 50 people at best when it's something highly changed. With so many events going on, we reasonably expect, and Canon Design, who does this nationwide, also expects the turnout's right about where they expect it. People are kind of walking through what this process is, what are they up to, what are they asking about. They come in with preconceived notions oftentimes, and the team does a really good job to introduce, we're here to talk about the building, but also all these other things. So I think as it gets more visibility and as people start to see some of those draft options, it'll get a lot more and better attendance.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Cavazos?
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Brandon and Rick, for your presentation and your patience. Trustee Esparza-Stoffrican has already covered the questions I was going to ask, having to do with the prioritization of the immediate needs schools. So I have a constituent question, as always, having to do with not understanding like the replacement schools, the new schools, and Del Sol Academy as far as the swing school. Could you give just a quick definition for them? And this is a parent who has a child coming into kindergarten, I believe, at Lewis Rowe.
Okay, so definition of, Brandon McLaughlin for the record, definition of new school, definition of replacement school, and what the Del Sol Academy is?
Yeah, I think they know the new school. They're puzzled about the replacement school and the swing school.
Got it. So the replacement school strategy is where we replace schools on site. That's where, take your example, Woodbury Middle School, which is in your district area. We are building that middle school 2 stories down on the turf field area, and that's almost topped out. And in the summertime, we will come back, demolish the entirety of the round middle school that exists up on the hill there along Sand Hill. And then about October, November timeframe, they'll have a parking lot and fields associated with that all completed. That's one replacement school strategy. The other one is swing school strategy. So we have about 5 swing schools around the district. 3, sorry. And what happens in those is schools will move entirely their operations, student, staff over to that swing campus for the 1 academic year oftentimes. The secondary, it's 2 years, but that's very rare. With elementary in particular, you can take example, Red Rock. They went to Fife Elementary School for that 1 year. Their building was being completely torn down, completely rebuilt. They come back over from Fife in that summer. And then in February or August of 2024, we welcomed them back to their campus.
Okay, thank you so much. I think they were just a little puzzled about that, they were thinking replacement was on a whole other, site. The other question I wanted to ask, I didn't know about this because I was going to ask, again, I thank my colleagues for saving me time here, what Trustee Satori asked about the attendance. I'm kind of doing my own little heat map of keeping track, of the attendance. So you said from 2 to about 30 to 35, and I know Boulder City the other night had about 15, I think, something like that. I think Trustee Esparza Stofferkin attended. So can you tell me in what area that we had about 30 to 35? Because I'm kind of sort of trying to keep track of this, where we're getting the best attendance, where we can do better, because people are telling me that they don't know about this yet. We have it all over the place, but some folks are not getting that information.
Good question. I don't have the attendance readily available, but I can request that from Canon and provide it in follow-up.
Okay, so, all right. Thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you. Trustee Dominguez?
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to clarify for our constituents that the schools that were on the list for reference C, these are schools that are, if there is something critical, they're still going to be maintained. There's still something that's still going to happen. If something is needed for maintenance, they're not being completely delayed on normal maintenance.
Brandon McLaughlin, for the record, yes, our maintenance team takes care of a building all the way until we hand over the keys to the general contractor to replace it. So, and I do want to take this opportunity to address, because I continue to hear Rowe Elementary School is a great example. There is challenges at that campus. So we have taken a concerted effort with our Director of Facilities Management as well as a construction coordinator out there. And we just started work on out there at their campus just today on remediating some of the issues we continue to hear out there. So we don't just abandon schools if they're on this list. We certainly take care of them throughout their life.
Got it. And just secondary as a comment towards my colleagues, just a reminder, we did receive an email from the AZAC chair who gave us a recommendation of schools to look at that were at overcapacity or that possibly we could move around to have a better capacity and more, I guess, equal capacity between schools, because like he mentioned with Rowe Elementary is at 116% capacity level, which is really high. And I know even in my district, it's very much a capacity. It's 143 at DeVitch for capacity level for the elementary school, which is really high. So I appreciate that work. And I know, at least I know from previous time we've been here that we've usually given recommendation to the committee, and so I'm not sure if that's the normal process, but I do, suggest that we all go back to those emails and take those recommendations and recommend to our superintendent to add that to the committee agenda for AZAC.
Thank you for that. Trustee Esparza Stofferkin?
Okay, so I just want to add a little bit more detail, if you don't mind, Brandon, because I'm really vested in this. I was put on the committee, whether voluntold or volunteered, but thank you, President. So there were 10 meetings total, and some of them were concurrent. So you might have had like 2 meetings on one day in different locations. So there's been a total of 10. We do have the next meeting on April the 29th at Virgin Valley High School from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m., I believe, Tuesday the 29th. And then for those that cannot attend in person, there are virtual options. So if you go to the website on the front page, go down to the tab that said Facilities Master Plan. You click on it. We want you to do 2 things. I'm just going to say it. We need your feedback. There's a survey there. And then there's also options to do virtual sessions. And the first one we have is on Saturday, April the 26th from 10 to 11:30 a.m. in English. And we also have a session in Spanish only on the same day at the same time. So I just wanted to make sure people really know that that's available to them. Please come. I attended both the 2-person session and the 15-person session, and I plan to attend more. So I would encourage all of my colleagues to get in on that and participate. I know, Madam President, there might be more questions and discussion, but I would like to entertain a motion when it's ready.
Thank you. Trustee Henry and then Trustee Zabora.
Thank you so much for your presentation. And just briefly, I did have the opportunity to attend one of the meetings on April 14th at Nevada Partners, and it was decent attendance, but it will be helpful to have more outreach to the community. So we'll make sure that we do our part as trustees. I know I'm speaking on behalf of all of us to get more people there. I'm in favor of a pause so we can have the opportunity to see what the results from these meetings are. Also, it is an opportunity for us to be more innovative for the spaces that are underutilized and our enrollment is decreasing, but also so we can start attracting more individuals to our schools. Speaking of, I had the opportunity to visit Cheyenne High School recently, who's going through some modernizations themselves. I had a question about theaters, because to my understanding, they're not, theaters are not part of modernizations at schools. And I heard that there's some equipment that needs to be replaced and things like that. So I just wanted to know, like in the future, is that something that can be entertained, if that's part of the programming of the school, to be able to attract more students? And there were some other things too.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you. One question, one answer. I appreciate that. So Cheyenne is scopes, all of our modernizations are scope specific. There's a lot of decision points along the way that staff make when we're going through scoping with the general contractor and the licensed design professional. I wouldn't be able to speak to certainty of whether equipment was in or out at Cheyenne, but it's certainly something I can follow up with. I do know on other comprehensive modernizations, I have a lot more intimate knowledge with, say, Bonanza High Schools. Their theater was upgraded in certain regards, not fully, but certain aspects, their electrical low voltage systems were. And I foresee similar consistency across Cheyenne, but I have to validate that for you.
Okay, I appreciate that. It was good to go back to the school that I graduated from, and I was like, oh, this is the same flooring that was here the day I stepped on campus. And so, I mean, just in the future, just hopefully there'll be more comprehensive modernization where the flooring and the walls and everything is included. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Zamora.
Thank you, Madam President. So I have two questions. Have you all considered maybe doing a joint meeting with AZAC and bond oversight?
Brandon McLaughlin for the record, assuming how I'm the assistant superintendent for over both of them, yes, that's a consideration that we're exploring for this next AZAC season and bond oversight. So I think it's a great idea and brought up recently that we're exploring.
Perfect, okay, because I think they're like this all the time, and they're never kind of getting together to really come up with solutions. And we have a lot of good experts on there for both committees. My second question is, one of the things I've heard recently is that people do not, and I don't know who the people is, do not want to fix some of the issues in a school when they're saying that it's going to get torn down in 2 to 3 years. Is that something you have heard? What are some kind of solutions? How are we working through that?
It's a good question, Trustee Zamora, Brandon McLaughlin for the record. It is a misnomer I hear out there. I don't want to say a blanket that I can speak on behalf of facility management, but they work awfully hard. And so oftentimes, if that is true, and we're hearing it from school leaders and occupants in our building, often you just have to weigh what's the cost and how much life does it have left. That's not carte blanche to not fix something, and our maintenance team knows that. So we will definitely address things that threaten health, safety, welfare of our students and staff. But there is that break-even point of if it's got a major investment need and it's only a year away and does not threaten health, safety, welfare of our occupants, then it may be deferred, but it's a case-by-case issue.
Okay, and as we're going into the summer, you know, ACs is always going to be an issue. ACs are really expensive, and I did start hearing those type of things with the AC specifically. Why are we going to get ACs when we're going to get torn down next year? Can you probably provide to the team
the whole board, maybe some talking points or steps, who to refer to, or how do we have that communication with the community when they're saying those type of things?
Brandon McLaughlin for the record. Non-political response, but climate change is a thing in the valley. Our temperatures continue to rise to parameters that air conditioning units built 55, 60 years ago were not built for. So we do know there's interruptions in service. I will say the first day of school for 2025's planning started the day after the first day of 2024. We saw the headlines just like everybody else, and that's not how we want to be. So we're addressing proactively how we make the most amount of our AC units active and working when they need to be. We're excited to be bringing a board item at a future date, how we're addressing some of the critical HVAC failures that we readily know will happen because they're some of our worst performing pieces of equipment.
Perfect, thank you.
Trustee Cavazos?
Thank you, Madam President. Just a quick question, Brandon. I think you covered this, and I was taking notes. Kind of referring back to what my colleague, Trustee Henry, was asking about getting the word out more. I think you said, is there messaging going out, via the principals to their communities about these facility master plan meetings, besides everything else that we're doing?
Brandon McLaughlin for the record, yes. I believe the principals as a voice and conduit were being utilized, and I know we were planning some follow-ups because I don't know that all of them made it out. So we can continue to explore the principals as a communication vehicle.
Okay, thank you so much.
Trustee Dominguez?
Thank you. I do want to commend my Trustee Zamora for that comment. I think that is a really excellent idea to marry the two, or at least have them meet at some point. I did want to ask a quick question. When is the survey completed? When will we see the results? When does it close?
So I believe it closes the early part of May. When we confirm the actual date, we can provide that in follow-up. We are then targeting your early June meeting to share some of the results of that survey, as well as the other quantitative data the team's assembled so far.
And I know there was some virtual meetings. When's the last meeting that's in person? I know I had that email somewhere, but I could reference my email. I just wanted, they might coincide with when the survey is closed.
Yeah.
But
We'll have to provide that in follow-up. I don't
Perfect.
have that
Thank
sheet,
you.
but it looks like it's being passed down.
We're getting it now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right,
I don't
thank
see
you.
any other questions. I do want to see if there's anybody that wanted to provide public comment. I didn't have anybody listed for public comment on facilities. So before Mr. Gomez, is this one on 3.01? And I'm allowing it because I didn't make the announcement before I open the item, so. Is it 3.01? Mr. Yes, please come forth.
David Gomez, for the record, Nevada Peace Alliance president, father of 7 children. I've been to just about every meeting. Obviously, I can't be in Overton and Boulder at the same time. There's no way I can do that. But I did question a lot of things. And one of them was, do you have the number of people that completed the survey? And I was told by the consultant company's president, I guess the person doing the presentation, said no. And I said, can I have the number? No. And I said, okay. And she goes, well, that means I just don't have it here. Wow, okay. They didn't start off that way. So obviously, they didn't like me asking for certain things about this. I'm the one that contacted the media because I kept asking, listen, if political campaign people can blanket our city with $100,000, even $50,000, what can't $5 million do? So, and it's like, okay, we're depending on you guys. We're going to hire you as a consultant, but we're depending on you guys to advertise for us. We're depending on principals to advertise for us. We want you to put it on your website. You pay us, so we tell you to put it on your stuff. that kind of doesn't equate with me really well. I did show up at one meeting with Trustee Ramona, and we were there and we talked about some things about what was going on. And also, I also talked with some of the people the other day. We showed up at Las Vegas High School, the cafeteria. There was nobody there. I was the only person there eating tacos. I mean, they spend more money on expensive food than they do on advertising and marketing. I'm not blaming Director Baldwin or this gentleman right here, because they're not responsible for that. It wasn't their fault. But as a consultant, company, firm owner, I know what you hire me for. I know what I need to do, and I know why I need to do it. Are the questions answered the correct way? I mean, there's evasive ways of asking a question instead of being open and forthcoming with the public. Would you rather go to a school 20 minutes away to a better school, or would you rather be going to this school that's all dilapidated? Well, why don't you just tell the people, listen, we're going to run into some problems here, and we might have to close some schools down, and we need to know how to do this, and we need your help, instead of covertly covering it to make it look like something else. So when I brought that up in one of the meetings at the CSN campus, I went to that one too, it was just try to get to every single one of them. They were like, you know what, he's right. He is right. You need to just be transparent about it, but they're not being transparent. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Is there another, did you fill out a card? Okay. Okay. Yes, I'm going to allow this one more time. Is there anybody else that wants to provide public comment? If not, I'm going to close it. Okay, that's it. It's closed. And Ms. Becker, please complete that card.
Thank you. Do I need to press the button?
No, that's okay. Please proceed.
Okay. Thank you very much for allowing this. I was a little late due to traffic. I was also at the CSN meeting, and there were 5 of us in attendance. And I had a really positive experience. I thought it went really well. But I do know that I did not find out about these meetings until the week before from someone on bond oversight. I've been trying to spread the word in the community because I know that they need the input. And I will say answering the survey is really easy online. So thank you for plugging that. But I'm here today to talk about the utilization of federal funding that's available for renewable energy projects on these school capital improvements. And I've met with some of you, I've met with Brandon about these funds that are available, because what I'm hearing from this discussion is how much the price has increased for all these projects and the pressure that puts on the district, obviously, for funding. And these federal funds are from the Inflation Reduction Act. They last until 2032. They're not grants. They're not competitive. They are a tax credit program for nonprofit entities, schools, houses of worship, municipal buildings. You build the renewable energy, and then you fill out the paperwork, and you actually get a check. So it isn't a tax credit because you don't have a tax burden. And the district spends $120 million a year on utilities, and the vast majority of that is for electricity. We obviously live in the desert, and solar power is already installed on about 40 schools. And what I would like to see is an agenda item so that the community can see how much we're spending, how much could we save, how much solar is already installed, and how much energy is being produced by that solar. Because these funds, it's 2 different amounts of money. There's the money you get back from building these units that last for 25 or 30 years and provide all the energy the school needs. And then there's the savings every single year in utility costs for the school. And I've been meeting with districts in other places and talking to people that are in other states. And Washoe County School District, I just spoke with them today. They're about to get about $1.7 million just for one school that had a ground source heat pump installed. And that's going to use about 50% less energy, and they're going to get that money back. So I'm just here to advocate so that the community knows that we could be reducing that cost, our utility cost, on all these improvements, because I thought the most interesting thing about the meeting on Tuesday at CSN was the map that they had of all of the schools and when they were built. And you can see that the older schools are obviously in kind of the same neighborhoods. And we've had some great rebuilds of like Fremont Middle School, which has solar. Some of our CTE academies have solar. So that's just why I'm here, and I'm happy with this discussion. So thank you.
Thank you very much. With that then, Trustee Esparza-Strophigan, I will entertain a motion.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make a motion at this time to accept 3.01, the 2015 Capital Improvement Plan, Revision 6, as presented.
Thank you. And just for clarity, that would be a motion to pause the school projects to evaluate the strategic alignment of the facilities for 1 year. Okay. And the second one, Trustee Dominguez.
I would like to second the motion.
So I have a first and a second. Please cast your votes. Okay, that passes 7-0. Thank you. Let me find my, okay, we're going to go to item 3.02. Before I open it up, is there anyone who did not get a chance to complete a public speaker card? Okay, it's officially closed. I'm going to go ahead and ask our compliance monitor person, Ms. King, to proceed.
Good evening, Madam President, trustees, and Superintendent Ebert. Welcome to your first meeting. So I am Yolanda King, the Compliance Monitor for the Clark County School District. And today's monitoring report, I would like to update you on some of the progress that we've made on the corrective action plan, particularly 3 of the action steps. The first that I would like to update you on is action step 2.1.1D, and that action step is to investigate current position budget forecasting models and review available software to automatically calculate position budgets. So as an overview of the current process, I reported to you that the district currently uses a very large and complex Excel spreadsheet to manually forecast over 40,000 individual positions. This manual process obviously is very time consuming, and it's also challenged by a number of things, specifically with the multiple bargaining units that the district has, as well as varying staffing models that are out there. It's also challenged by constant shifts in student population, and also it's limited in any type of scenario modeling or planning that make it difficult for the district to simulate any kind of impacts as a result of enrollment changes or policy shifts or funding updates. And then lastly, the data is siloed between HR and payroll and finance, which can often lead to some complications or major reconciliations, as well as compliance issues. So why is automating the budget position forecasting important? The main reason has to do with the more accurate that you can project your budgets for positions, salaries, and benefits specifically, the better position and financial planning position that the school district is in, particularly because salaries and benefits make up 85% of the expenditures that occur in the district. And so a large, significant amount of your expenditures are going to salaries and benefits. So as such, it's very important for you to invest into a automated system as opposed to relying on manual process through an Excel spreadsheet. So today, the good news is that I am pleased to share with you that after thorough research and an evaluation by the budget team, they have identified an automated software program called Una Budget, which is powered by Sherpa. What's important with this software program is that Una Budget, it is a public sector budgeting company. They have been dedicated to entirely focusing on public sector budgeting for over 20 years. So they have the experience They have, users within government, public sector that they've worked with and are definitely, I think, a good choice for the district in terms of moving forward with automating your position forecast system. Also, what's important to note is that the UNA system, it interfaces, or the software has the ability to interface with SAP, which is the district's financial system, as well as PeopleSoft, which is the district's position control, as well as payroll system. So the fact that the UNA system is able to really interface with those two systems is very important, because a lot of the data that needs to be utilized for position forecasting, it comes from SAP as well as the PeopleSoft system. So the fact that all those systems can talk is also a plus as well. So the UNA system, it's important to note that the benefits are obviously there will be a significant reduction in the manual workload. And I have to note that for the first year of utilizing the UNA system, there is a planned process to where both systems, the manual as well as the UNA system, will parallel each other just to ensure that the UNA system and the processes are put in place, the calculations are put in place to make sure that they're accurate and including everything that we need to have included. So the two systems will parallel, so you won't see a big significant reduction with regard to manual process until after the first year. The ability for another benefit is that UNA provides the ability for multi-year forecasting, and it will allow for the school district to quickly respond to any policy or funding changes that may occur, particularly in a year where you have legislative session, you have negotiations that are opening up, and so this will allow the ability mostly to do like scenario type of modeling should you need to try to understand what are some of the impacts of either legislature or negotiations or whatever the case may be. And so I think it's also important to note that there was a great deal of due diligence that occurred with the budget team. They conducted an extensive review and evaluation of other budget forecasting solutions, and they also contacted other large school districts and other public sector organizations. The budget team conducted several meetings with UNA, and they also visited Clark County, and this is the reason for the visit for Clark County is because they are currently using the UNA system, and it is delivering great results with Clark County. And so I felt getting those two teams together so that Clark County School District can visually walk through, ask questions about what the software program can or cannot do. So I think that was ultimately the reason for the budget team unanimously voting to implement the UNA system. The implementation details. This is also what I believe is an added plus is that you would think something like this may take months and months and months and maybe even years, but the planned project kickoff, it's planned for June this year, 2025, and the go live for implementing the system is anticipated for November of 2025. So there's a project kickoff in June, planned go live in November of 2025, which is important because it's really just in time for the development of the fiscal year 2027 budget. These dates are really solid because in talking with Clark County, they had pretty much the same time frame. And to give you an idea of Clark County's position budgets that they're forecasting for, they budget for about 10,000 employees. Not the magnitude of Clark County School District, but still a significant portion or large number of positions that they're forecasting for. And so they were able to implement their system within a 3 to 4 month time frame. And so that's important to know that I believe that these timeframes will and can be achieved if the district does decide to go with UNA, the UNA software solution. The funding that has been identified by the budget team or finance is that the cost will be covered through technology bond funds, a combination of technology bond funds, and the general fund. And the cost over a 5-year period, this is the cost for the 5-year period, is $1.2 million. And so in the first year, starting the project kickoff, which would be in 2025, it's anticipated that the cost will be $200,000. And then in fiscal year 2026, that's when the project implementation will be completed, is going to be $451,000. And then thereafter, the annual cost is roughly around $160,000, $170,000. That $160,000 and $70,000 is really a subscription cost, because these days that's how IT projects work. They don't just deliver, you pay upfront, you deliver an IT solution. These days it's a cloud-based solution, and so therefore there are annual costs associated with basically subscribing for that solution. And I believe those are all the important notes to make, but I just want to make, in closing on this particular item, is just to state that really this long-term investment, I think, will help with Clark County going forward, particularly as it relates to its managing its position and the projections and budgets and how, going forward. And then particularly as it relates to financial planning and being able to scenario plan, have models in place to kind of figure out what something may look like in the future. And I think that's going to be a big plus for the district in automating the system. So with that, I will stop and answer any questions as it relates to that particular action step.
Thank you. Trustee Biasotti?
Thank you, Madam President. For this UNA system, do you know of any other school districts that have used this system?
I don't believe so. I don't have. I know that the budget team contacted other school districts. For instance, this was interesting for me. LA Unified, they do not have an automated budget system, and they probably have, twice as many employees that we have. So that was interesting to learn. And I believe they contacted Houston, and they utilize SAP, so they don't, not UNA. So I don't have the specific information in terms of other school districts that use this particular product.
Thank you. I would like to see if there is data that can show us that it's been a resourceful system that is worth the investment. So thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Stevens?
So, gotta love the internet, because while you're talking about this, I'm looking it up and seeing what the reviews are on the system. Definitely a few pros and cons. What I liked about it was that they were praised for the transparency that the system provides, that it does a really good job. All the things that you're talking about, all the things that the team has worked hard to find in this system, it sounds like it does the job. A couple questions, though. Out of curiosity, the 160 to 170, that's, the annual subscription, is that per user? Do you have like a blocks of users that create that cost?
My understanding, it's a total cost, and the rollout isn't initially anticipated to be to all the schools. It's just anticipated to be centrally.
Okay.
And so as they may get into phase 2, which would include the schools, and you're adding more users, that cost can definitely increase as a result of adding more users.
Okay. And then my other question is, usually when you take a new system like this and you're onboarding it to so many folks who are going to be utilizing it, there's usually support included, from the company within that cost. And sometimes large programs like this can really they can either become a huge solution, or they can even become a barrier if they don't provide the proper training and support to the staff and to the users that are utilizing it. So can you tell us a little bit about what that support looks like?
So in talking with Clark County, their experience with UNA was quite frankly top-notch when it came to the support that was needed. And the turnaround with regard to issues that arose as they were implementing the system was almost within 24 hours in terms of trying to address any issues that that Clark County was experiencing. They also, Clark County mentioned that it would, or suggested that the Clark County School District utilize the same team as the Clark County local government utilized, because they were very pleased with particularly their turnaround when there were concerns or issues. That's important because as you are going through and building your budgets, and there's time commitments, time frames in a very quick time where your problems need to be addressed. There were definitely support from UNA with regard to being able to support the team with solving any issues that they'd come up with. You're welcome.
Trustee Satori?
Thank you, and that was my question as well, is just about the support that the company provides and such. That was one of mine. I just went for clarification. Is it a 5-year contract then? Is that what it?
That's what it would be, yes.
It would be a 5-year contract,
Yes.
and then yearly ongoing for the subscription after that, or is it then, or do you know what?
There probably would be, yes, an additional contract, but I would say in 5 years, depending on where we are. I know that the school district is in the process of, going out for an RFP for an enterprise resource management system. And so that gives you time to understand if the new system that they select will have this functionality or not, or it gives you the ability to expand upon what you're doing with this system, particularly as it relates to school budgets, because right now there's a separate software system that schools are using, and so hopefully the idea is to combine those two processes into one software package. So I think when you get to year 5, year 4, 5, there's a little bit more research and understanding of what you want, and do you want to use this? Is there something else out there that's available for them? Is it something that can be incorporated into the ERP system? So there's a lot of questions, I think, going forward. But for the short term, this is something that will definitely meet the need in terms of automating.
Thank you. And I did catch the years they had been in business. Where are they based? I didn't catch, I don't know if you mentioned that.
I don't know that. Is it on the website?
Was it online?
Do you know that answer, Trustee Stevens, where they're based?
Let's see if it's in here.
Okay, she's going to look.
Okay.
And then my final question, now I can Google as well after we finish, but is just about the security measures in place, having, being cloud-based and all that sensitive data, just kind of questions about that, how that's addressed.
Texas. Okay.
Where?
They're based out of Austin, Texas.
Oh, sorry.
But to answer your question was
I was just asking kind of about the security measures in place, yeah, thanks.
So the school district, they do have a process with evaluating and, those types of functionalities within software systems. So the budget team, from my understanding, has been working with the IT folks. They are planned to go to the IT governance team or committee. I believe it's on May 7th. To get the final approval from them. So the idea is, everything that's required by the school district, that it meets those requirements, of which security will most likely and should be a part of that process. But I know that it is. That's not something you're going to implement without ensuring the security of it, particularly as it relates to cloud services and people information.
Thank you, Trustee Henry.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I had a question. You mentioned that there's the potential for a reduction of the workload for our staff members. Do you know if there's a cost savings over the 5-year period?
Probably not in people cost savings, because the amount of work that it's a different I guess, workload in terms of making sure there's definitely more cost associated up front because you're having to pull the data, make sure the data interfaces, double check the data. But I don't foresee that there's like a cost savings because the process is still the process. And so I can check with the budget team, but right off the top of my head, I don't foresee that there is some sort of cost savings, but there could be.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Trustee Esparza-Stroffigan.
Ms. King, you mentioned LA Unified. Do you know what type of budget system they have? And I'll follow up if you don't know, because I'm curious.
So according to the notes, in terms of position forecasting software, they use Microsoft Excel.
So the reason I'm asking is because of the way that Nevada and specifically Clark County, we have unique budgets, the strategic budget. Could you give us an education on why maybe an Excel spreadsheet is not ideal for the system of budgeting that we do in Clark County?
The way that Excel spreadsheets, obviously, I mean, they're working that, so there's a manual calculation of benefits that need to occur with each position. So every single cell within an Excel spreadsheet includes a formula. And as I mentioned before, the Excel spreadsheet that the school district is using has over 40,000 rows of information. And that's because you have 40,000 positions. Every single position, you have to calculate a budget for that position. And so if something occurs where unexpectedly there is, I don't know, a deletion of a cell where it includes that formula, there can then be, and because the spreadsheet is so large, trying to find that or even knowing or having the knowledge that there is an error within that spreadsheet, it would take hours and hours, even if you even find it, right? So that's the problem that you have, is because you have 40,000 rows and then the columns probably go over 26 columns. So the magnitude of having a formula in all of those cells, and for whatever reason, if something happens where there's information deleted or information changed, you know, the ability of trying to go in and figure out if you find that there is a problem is going to be very difficult. And so hence, having an automated system, the computer system is automatically doing that for you. Any errors that may occur is really in the input of that data. Because, for example, if there is a merit increase, and say that merit increase is, I don't know, a certain percentage, 4%, it's a matter of plugging in 4%, the calculation that the automated system will do, it will look at all of the employees that are eligible. It knows you program in, these are the employees that would be eligible for a merit increase, and then it will automatically apply that 4%, calculate what that 4% looks like, but it's all automated. Whereas in an Excel spreadsheet, it's every cell is individually, has a formula and does that calculation.
Thank you for that, Ms. King, because I think visually that gave me a headache, like 40,000 cells. And the interfacing is really important because we have different systems, and our strategic budgets are very different and unique. I don't even know what districts in the nation. I'm curious, if that's a question I would ask, can you come back to us? Do other districts have strategic budgets, and do they use any kind of platform other than an Excel spreadsheet? In addition, are there other platforms that would accommodate the kinds of budgets that we would need to be able to have the same offerings as UNA, just so that we can have maybe consideration? I know that's something we're just discussing right now, but it would be nice to have maybe another look back for other platforms to compare.
Thank you. Trustee Barron?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Of course, Ms. Williams, it's always a pleasure to see you. And I really appreciate all the hard work that you've been putting towards this. At this point, I know that our superintendent, she is assembling her team. One of our critical hires is going to be our CFO. Would your recommendation be that I'm not a money guy, never have been. Numbers and we don't get together ever since kindergarten, right? As a matter of fact, truth be told, the person that we're about to hire was helping me in first grade. Yeah, the person that's about to be brought on, that was a person who was trying to give me the answers way back in first grade. That's the kind of person that we're hiring to come on here. Anyhow, do you recommend that our CFO be a part of this decision? Because obviously, whomever our CFO is going to be coming on, they're going to be it's going to be their charge to work with whatever platform that we have. And so I don't know if this UNA is something that's like a industry standard that everybody knows and works with, right? Or are there different types, of platforms? I don't know if it should be that our CFO will come in and will be adaptable enough to just go ahead and do this because, they're like a wizard with numbers. I guess that's my first question is, should this be something that our CFO should be intimately aware of and be part of the decision? Number two, again, I realize that each and every one of our schools, like Rancho High School, has like a population and a corresponding budget that's very similar to small towns, actually bigger than many of the towns here in Nevada. Probably bigger than about 80% of the towns here in the state of Nevada. When you have, I've already forgotten how many high schools we have, but we have quite a bit, and the elementary schools. It is something that's going to be applicable, and you'll have a platform that will incorporate not just the central office budget, but all, the 370-odd budgets that we have, each and every one of them, which are very diverse, very complex as well. And you know what? I had a third question, but I think those two questions are pretty big in and of itself. So
Okay.
I'll just leave the last one.
Okay. Yes, I was actually going to inform you that the interim CFO has been definitely embedded in this situation or in the review of programs, so I will let her.
Hi, Trustee Barone, Diane Bartholomew, interim CFO for the record. I feel like I needed to clarify a couple things. And yes, I have been embedded in the process. I supervise the budget team. I've been very involved in the budget tool, so it'll be enlightening. I know it will, compared to what we're doing, because it's very manual right now. But I just wanted to clarify that the school budgeting tool through Hyperion is a separate entity. It won't be replacing the position forecasting tool won't be replacing that tool. It's actually going to help us be more accurate in providing numbers that go into the budget tool. If you remember this past season, right, we had a challenge with developing our average salary, right, that gets into the school budgets. So this tool will be helping us make that process more accurate going into the school budget tool.
In that case, and I beg your pardon on this one. In that case, will there be like a cross-platform requirement? The reason why I say it because you're talking to one guy that worked sometimes, they were to a certain grade and grades were not populated over from one program that I'd rather not mention, so I don't get us into any trouble. But as someone here who used to have to do lesson plans and grading on one platform that went over to another that reported to parents, those platforms really didn't play very well together. Is there going to be a need for this UNA to play nice with Hyperion?
Yes.
And will they work?
Yes. So Diane Bartholomew for the record. Yes, we have researched that. Yes, and there what we call like a crosswalk. So there is a process for that system to dump into SAP for us. Yes. But remember, this is more about the position forecasting for us. So it's not entirely that a crosswalk would actually be needed. It's just coming up with the numbers that we need to develop budget.
So long as the platforms play nice with each other.
Yes, they will.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Trustee Dominguez?
Thank you, Madam President. I did just want to clarify something. So so the this system won't be utilized by our staff, our teachers. This will be used at the central and kept at central. Okay.
Correct.
Great, perfect. And then I just wanted to hear maybe something, just kind of what your thoughts are on how the auditing for the internal and external processes will work with this system. Is this going to help our system catch things faster, more notifications? I know we've talked about this so much, and I really appreciate your work on this. So just any thoughts you could give on auditing?
Yes, so Diane Bartholomew for the record. Yeah, it will definitely make things more accurate for us. As Ms. King was alluding to, our process is very manual right now regarding our budget forecasting. And they're massive spreadsheets. Sometimes our system may even crash just trying to open the one sheet because the data is so voluminous. And when she says 40 rows, it's actually way more than that because we have more than 40,000, right? Because we have such complicated contracts. And then you got to include benefits and maybe what column or step they're on, right? There's a lot that goes into the forecasting of our positions. But yeah, the system, this particular system will make it a lot more clearer and we'll be able to generate reports that will be used probably by our auditors, yes.
Perfect. And then just the last question is how, who is it going to require someone to manually input to translate the information over from these Excel sheets into the system?
Yes, so initially, Diane Bartholomew, for the record, there will be some inputting that's going to need, so the upfront work, yes, is probably going to be time consuming, but once it's in, it's going to be very easy, right?
Yeah, perfect.
And Yolanda King for the record. So initially what happens is the manual work that's anticipated is putting in those characteristics like the different benefits that are associated with the different bargaining units. That's the manual piece. The upfront upload of data, it is work that the information technology department would create a program that pulls data from SAP or pulls data from PeopleSoft and then uploads it into Sherpa. So that part is not manual. The manual piece of it is the actual inputting of the different characteristics associated with all of the different units and the staffing models. So that's where a lot of some of the upfront work is occurring because you have to build basically these databases to pull data and then take it and have it interface with Sherpa. And so that it takes some technical work or expertise to be able to do that.
Got it. That sounds very intensive. So I applaud you guys for the work you've done and the work you're going to be doing to upload this data and actually bringing this system to us because I know it's definitely needed. So thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Cavazos?
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Ms. King and Ms. Bartholomew, for answering all your questions. I just wanted to clarify something that's not clear from the agenda item. So are we being asked, as the agenda item normally, to approve Ms. King's report, the compliance report? Or are we being asked to approve this monetary purchase at this time as part of the approval of the compliance report?
This is Yolanda King for the record. This was simply to give you an update on this particular action step and to provide information in terms of where their school district is with this action step, and also to give you comfort that the action step and the review evaluation that that Ms. Bartholomew and her budget team have gone through, it gives you comfort in knowing that it's a good solution and it solves the problem of what got us to this action step. So that's the intent of today's conversation.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see any other questions. This is, and we had already decided that we didn't have any public speaker cards, so then.
Madam President?
Yes.
If I may, there are a couple of other action steps I would like to update the board on.
I'm sorry. We spent all
Okay.
that time. My apologies.
No
Please
worries.
proceed.
The next two corrective action steps that I would like to provide an update for you on in the progress of those two action steps are 1.13A and 1.13B, and those are located on page 6 of the corrective action report. Specifically, 1.13A is to evaluate and revise the job description to advertise for a permanent chief financial officer. And so I am pleased to report to you that that particular step was reviewed and the job description was updated in January, so that action step is completed. And then 1.13B, that action step is to utilize an open recruitment process to recruit both externally and internally candidates to hire a permanent CFO. And again, that is on page 6 of the corrective action plan. So the progress on this particular action step is that in January, the position was posted. In March, after evaluating the number of applicants that were received at that point in time, the HR team and I worked to basically give a boost to the advertisement in advertising it out on additional platforms. So that included Indeed, LinkedIn, as well as Education Week. And then I'm happy to report that as of today, we have 40 applications or applicants, of which 10 of those applicants do not meet minimum qualifications or they didn't complete their application. So there's 30 applications that are out and available for us to review and bring in for interviews. And so over the next 2 weeks, it is our intent, or we will be interviewing applicants that are off that list, and then hopefully we can get a CFO. But what I do want to kind of forewarn you is that if for whatever reason we do not find an applicant from that list of CFO applicants, that there may be a need to hire a recruiting firm that specifically is specific to hiring or bringing in CFOs to organizations. So that's hopefully not a step that we will get to because we definitely have some great candidates that are on the list. And so just wanted to report to you where we are with that step, and hopefully we can come back to you in a couple weeks with some great news.
Was there another one? No, that was it.
That
Okay.
concludes my
Okay.
report for today.
All right, awesome, thank you. With that, then, I will entertain a motion to accept the compliance monitoring update as presented. Trustee Barron?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to accept the compliance monitor report.
Thank you. I have a first from Trustee Barron. Trustee Dominguez?
I would like to second the motion.
Okay, I have a first and a second. If you could please cast your votes. That passes 7-0. Next, Superintendent, we have our legislative update. I don't know if you want to say any comments before you introduce your team.
The team has been very busy. Thank you, Madam President. We are still waiting for a couple other major bills to drop, but they would like to inform you of what has transpired since the last time we met and also provide you with additional updates coming forward.
Thank you. With that, this is not an action item, so there is no public comment. Please proceed, Mr. Story.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert. For the record, my name is Todd Story. I'm the Chief Communications Officer for the district. And to provide our legislative update tonight, we have Nathaniel Waugh, Director of Government Relations, with us here in person in Las Vegas. And we have Dr. Brad Keating, Assistant Superintendent of Community Partnerships and Government Relations, joining us virtually from Carson City. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Waugh.
Thank you, Mr. Story. Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert, Nathaniel Waugh for the record. Today is the 81st day of the legislative session, which means we're just over 2/3 of the way through this session. Since our last update to the board, there have been two major deadlines, first committee passage and just this past Tuesday, first House passage. First committee passage on April 11th saw a number of bills we were tracking die. As a summary, education related bills that we were following, 25 died and 48 survived. Non-education, so these are governmental administration, public works, just general, they apply to all local governments. Bills that died was 37. Non-education related bills that are still alive was 112. So currently, out of the 222 bills that we began the session tracking, 62 died and 160 are still alive. But as they say in Carson City, nothing is dead until until sine die. So any one of those can come back. On Tuesday, which was first House passage, 8 bills died, and the next major deadline will be second committee passage on May 16th. All bills that have failed to meet any deadlines are also reflected in the legislative tracker included in our weekly newsletter, and then as backup to this item. A few bills to highlight that passed both out of the first major deadlines. AB 48, which is our bill, passed unanimously out of the Assembly and goes on to the Senate. Our other bill, AB 47, is working its way through Ways and Means. And so everyone has bated breath for that. And Dr. Keating will kind of go more into the Economic Forum. Other bills that passed out of the Assembly are or passed out of the legislature in general, or both houses, AB 205, which would change sex ed consent in Nevada public schools from opt-in to opt-out. Parents must be notified within 4 weeks and given a form to decline participation. AB 217 would bar schools from sharing student information with immigration enforcement without a court order. The first offense would lead to discipline, and repeat offenses are misdemeanors. AB 553 lets students apply to attend public schools outside their zone if space is available. It mandates transparency on vacancies and reports on applications in transportation. SB 45 links career and technical education funding to advanced course enrollment, aligns reporting with federal standards for work-based learning programs. And SB 305 requires the NIAA to create official rules for making club sports interscholastic, covering eligibility, safety, and season length by October 1, 2025. A number of bills, 251 out of the remaining 796, including our AB 47, are exempt and are currently awaiting action in Assembly Ways and Means and Senate Finance. And I will now pass it to Dr. Keating in Carson City for a preview regarding the Economic Forum. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Waugh. Brad Keating for the record. Excited to be with all of you tonight virtually. Superintendent Ebert, I had the wonderful opportunity a few weeks ago to thank you at a state board meeting for your service to the state, and I'm excited tonight to have the opportunity to officially welcome you to Team CCSD. As was mentioned earlier by Mr. Waugh, bills have now started to move to the other house. So the Assembly Education Committee held a meeting today, and Senate Education is meeting tomorrow to begin reviewing and discussing bills, starting with a bill by Speaker Yeager about outdoor education electives. So we are starting to move very quickly into committees for second House passage and second committee. But as Mr. Waugh mentioned, the next major milestone in the legislative session is coming up on May 1st, and that is when the Nevada Economic Forum will release its revenue projections for the upcoming biennium. So for those listening or watching this evening who are unfamiliar, I wanted to give you a quick overview of the Economic Forum and why its work is so important to Nevada's budget process. So Nevada operates on a 2-year biennium budget cycle, which means that the state must estimate its revenue over the next 2 years in order to craft a balanced budget. So those revenue projections come from the Economic Forum, which is a panel of experts in finance, business, and taxation that are all appointed from across the state. So that forum analyzes both historical data and economic trends, such as tax revenue, statewide growth, to forecast how much money the state is likely going to bring in. So those projections serve as the legal cap on state spending. So the legislature, while they do their business up here, cannot pass a budget that exceeds the amount that is forecasted by the Economic Forum on May 1st, unless any new revenue is approved through separate legislation. So since April 1st, the last few weeks, lawmakers have begun the process of closing budgets. So trying to finalize funding for each state agency and service. And all of this work ends up building towards the Economic Forum's projections and is ultimately shaped by the numbers that they release. So I think in short, the Nevada Economic Forum really sets the financial foundation for the state budget. While the legislature sets the priorities, those decisions must fall within the limits established by the forum. So it's really a process that reflects and adapts to the changing dynamics of Nevada's economy, making budget management a continuous challenge. So we look forward on May 1st, as everybody does across the state, to see where the Economic Forum lands. We do anticipate there being budget shortfalls from what the initial projections were based on a number of factors, including just looking at visitation numbers in Las Vegas, for instance, as they've gone down the last few months. So all of that plays a role in the Economic Forum. So on May 1st, they will release those numbers. And then the next 30 days after that will be focused really up at the legislative session on figuring out how they close the legislative session with a balanced budget. So in our next board presentation, we'll be able to provide you with the updated numbers from the Economic Forum, provide an outlook for how the last 30 days of session will go. Superintendent Ebert mentioned it before. Just as a heads up, we are still waiting for the two major education omnibus bills to come out from Senator Cannizzaro and Governor Joe Lombardo. Once those bills come out, they'll be heard and debated quickly, as time is becoming the essence up here in Carson City. So one more thing, we are excited that Superintendent Ebert will be joining us next week in Carson City to advocate for the Clark County School District. We look forward to seeing you. And with that update, the team is now open to answering any questions or comments the board may have.
Awesome, thank you. Trustee Biasotti?
Thank you, Madam President. I have a question regarding AB 465. I know it's been heavily gutted and the language has significantly changed. Can you give a brief overview of AB 465? Can you explain if our CCSD stance is still in opposition, and if so, why?
Brad Keating, for the record. The bill has been heavily amended. We opposed the bill when it first came out. There have been a number of amendments. The bill just got it just was, the reprint just came out 2 days ago. So our legal team is reviewing that bill, and then we'll determine a stance moving forward. But there hasn't been a hearing scheduled yet on that bill to move forward. But we are looking at all of the revisions as that bill was heavily amended.
And I just had a quick follow-up question to that. In the amendments, did they amend where the district is still civilly liable for investigations or allegations?
Thank you for the question, Trustee. Brad Keating, for the record. They replaced language within the bill to state that a school district is immune from civil liability in the bill moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Trustee Esparza-Straffigan.
Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you, Mr. Keating. I know you're up there currently. So I just wanted clarification, and I wanted to make a statement on one of the bills that did not be successful. But first, quick one, it's a yes or no. Did AB 184 pass? What's the status on that one?
The bill is still active. It was exempted from the deadline, so it's still alive, but it hasn't moved.
Thank you for that. Okay, so you'll, as always, keep us updated on those specific ones. It's interscholastic. So I know that we had discussion last time about, and I please correct me, Mr. Story or Mr. Keating, Dr. Keating, about the student trustee bill. Was it AB 316?
That Brad Keating, for the record, that's correct. AB 316.
So I know that we have our students coming to us in May. I want it to just kind of be stated on the record that we look forward to really, not speaking as an individual, but I think collectively, we are having conversations to elevate student voice. So we're excited about having them come and share. I look forward to continuing that discussion with them because I know that that is an area that we can do better. So I just wanted to make sure that on record, it did not pass, but that we are definitely exploring and listening to our students, and we also want to hear their ideas and their recommendations as we have always done. But maybe things with our new leadership will definitely look different, and we'll have conversations going forward for our students to feel like they have a presence.
Thank you, Trustee Cavazos.
Thank you, Madam President. Dr. Keenan, I think, and thank you, Todd and Nate, for your presentation, too. AB 416, that has moved forward, I believe. It's listed as active. And do we have a stance on that?
Brad Keating for the record. That bill was declared exempt, so it did not receive a vote on the floor of the Assembly. Yet we've worked with the bill sponsor. I think we're in a much better place with that bill. So I don't think you'll see much opposition moving forward.
Thank you, Dr. Keating. That was the only question I had at this time. Thank you.
All right, Trustee Biasotti.
Thank you, Madam President. I had a follow-up question to AB 416. Do you know if the amendments include a downgrade of the felony charges that were stipulated in the original language?
Brad Keating for the record. I believe they were, but I will get back to you with that answer, with a definitive answer on that.
Thank you.
Okay, see no other questions. I just want to remind the public that the Economic Forum, you can watch it online, and it's available if you are interested in looking at the major and the minor revenue sources that will comprise the budget for the state. So thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Keating. It is a skill to be able to know where the bills are, and so I applaud the team. So thank you so much. With that, we're going to move to item 3.04. This is notice of intent for Clark County School Regulation 5157. Before I open that and the individuals come forth, is there anyone that did not get a chance to complete a public speaker card? I do have Ms. Crydell, but I don't see any others, so then it's closed. So please proceed.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert, for the record, Dustin Mansell, Chief Academic Officer. I am joined by Elena Kreiner-Wilson, our Assistant Superintendent of the Curriculum and Instruction Division, Christopher Carroll, our Director of Science, Health, Physical Education, and Driver Education Department, and David Wines, our Executive Director of the Food Service Department. Today, we are here to provide a notice of intent to amend Clark County School District Regulation 5157, titled Student Wellness. Clark County School District Regulation 5157 was last revised by the Board of School Trustees in 2015. Madam President, with your permission, I will hand over the presentation to Mrs. Kreiner-Wilson, Mr. Carroll, and Mr. Wines, who will provide an overview of the proposed amendments regarding the regulation.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert, for the record, Elena Kreiner-Wilson. Under federal regulation, Section 204 of the Healthy, Hunger-Free Kids Act of 2010 focuses on establishing and implementing local school wellness policies. It mandates that districts participating in the National School Lunch Program and the School Breakfast Program develop and implement policies for schools under their jurisdiction. In December of 2024, the Nevada Department of Agriculture released revisions to the Nevada School Wellness Policy. The revisions to the Nevada School Wellness Policy were based on policy requirements in Section 204 of the Healthy, Hunger-Free Kids Act of 2010. As stated in the Nevada School Wellness Policy, these updates comply with the federal minimum requirements. Clark County School District's regulation is in alignment with the Nevada Department of Agriculture's policy. This notice of intent, item 3.04, Clark County School District Regulation 5157, Student Wellness, will outline the proposed reorganization, deletions, and additions to the Clark County School District Regulation 5157, Student Wellness, with the 2024 updated Nevada School Wellness Policy from the Nevada Department of Agriculture.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert, for the record, Christopher Carroll. To provide better clarity and support throughout the district, the most significant proposed revision to Regulation 5157, Student Wellness, is to align all sections with the 2024 Nevada School Wellness Policy. Many of the strike-throughs represent this rearrangement. On page 2 of 13, the Child Nutrition Program reference was removed as the language was removed from the Nevada School Wellness Policy. The section regarding nutrition standards was moved to section 13, and Advisory Group School Wellness Committee replaced section 1 to match the layout of the Nevada School Wellness Policy. The language in the revised Advisory Group School Wellness Committee aligns with the Nevada School Wellness Policy. On pages 3 through 13, strike-throughs represent the rearrangement of sections to match the Nevada School Wellness Policy. Again, these were reorganized to mirror the order in the 2024 Nevada School Wellness Policy. On page 4 of 13, in section 2, Wellness Policy Coordinator, the superintendent of schools or designee will have the authority and responsibility to ensure that each school complies with this regulation. Was added to support the implementation, oversight, and requirements in the Nevada School Wellness Policy. On pages 4 and 5 of 13, under section 2, Wellness Policy Coordinator, 2 coordinators, a Food Service Department Wellness Coordinator, and a Curriculum and Instruction Division Wellness Coordinator were added. This revision is to support the different requirements of the Nevada School Wellness Policy as they relate to the district. On pages 5 and 6 of 13, Section 3, Record Keeping, and Section 4, School Wellness Policy Goals, were updated to align with the Nevada School Wellness Policy. Additionally, on pages 6 and 7 of 13, the language in Section 5, Incentives and Rewards, and Section 6, Fundraising, was updated to match the Nevada School Wellness Policy.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert, for the record, David Wines. I will continue to highlight the proposed revisions. On page 7 of 13, Section 7, Special Occasions, has been revised. The proposed revisions to this section aligns with the Nevada School Wellness Policy allowing for exceptions, permitting food and beverage that do not meet the Smart Snack guidelines to be provided at no cost for school-wide special occasions up to twice per month, as recommended by the Nevada Department of Agriculture. These special occasions may include observance of national or state holidays, school community observances, and as part of a learning experience or learning incentive. To ensure food safety, all items must be commercially prepared to reduce the risk of foodborne illness or allergens. However, food sales as part of fundraising or business activities must still comply with the nutrient and beverage standards outlined in sections 13 and 14 of this regulation. This revision to the regulation provides flexibility for meaningful celebration while maintaining student health and safety. On page 7 of 13, section 8, the revenue section was updated to include the appropriate district regulations. On page 8 of 13, section 10, physical activity was updated in subsection A to include during each regular school day with respect to the requirements of the opportunities for 30 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity. This update aligns with the Nevada School Wellness Policy. Also on page 8 of 13, section 11, recess was updated to match the Nevada School Wellness Policy. On pages 9 of 13, section 13, specific nutrient standards for food and smart snacks was updated to align with the Nevada School Wellness Policy. For clarity, the table on the top of page 10 of 13 was added. On pages 10 and 11 of 13, section 14, beverages was updated to match the Nevada School Wellness Policy. specifically the table outlining beverage types and container sizes for allowable beverages, which now allows for carbonated beverages such as carbonated flavored waters. On page 11 of 13, section 15, caffeine was updated to match the guidance in the Nevada School Wellness Policy. On page 11 of 13, section 16, chewing gum was previously part of the nutrient standards, and the language was updated to clarify the approval process for schools. Lastly, on pages 11 through 13, the strike-throughs across these pages represent the rearrangement of sections to match the Nevada School Wellness Policy. Thank you for this opportunity to share the proposed amendments regarding Clark County School District Regulation 5157, Student Wellness. At this time, we will pause and take any questions from the board.
Thank you so much. Trustee Stevens?
Thank you. I know we went over this in briefing, but I would like to make it public for some of our folks. On page, this has been a big question I've heard from our high schools. On page 7, you put the sale of food as part of business, enterprise, or fundraising activity is not allowed unless the food items meet the nutrient beverage standards as specified in this regulation. So a lot of high schoolers who are part of student council and that sort of thing, they would use Domino's and Chick-fil-A and these other organizations they had partnerships with to raise funds for prom and for the many other things that they did in their school. Because of this, they're no longer, in their minds, they are no longer able to do this. They can't do it at lunch, they can't do it at breakfast. And so they're not sure what the solution is so that they can still raise that money, because as you know, teenagers love Chick-fil-A and they love Domino's. So what other partnership opportunities are available to them? Is this something they could do at a different time? How can we best make sure that our high schoolers have the ability to still raise money in this capacity?
Thank you, Trustee Stevens. David Wines for the record. This regulation has been in existence since 2015. There's been no changes to the specifics of the fundraising requirement, so that has been in existence since then. They can do fundraising activities 30 minutes after the instructional day, or the other option is to have vendors meet the food and beverage nutrient requirements, and then therefore they can sell them during the instructional day. So there's a process in place where vendors or other entities can submit the information to food service for us to review it. We do have an approved list on our website outlining those items that they can sell, and this it goes from the student store, student vending machines, or those vendors coming on campus. So there is a process in place for that.
That's awesome. Where on the website can they find that?
It would be under the food service section of the website, ccsd.net/food service. Additional resources, I believe, under Smart Snacks.
Trustee Dominguez.
Thank you. And I know you had mentioned it briefly during our briefing, and I just wanted to put it out there also for the public, is where can, I know you had mentioned for vendors, and if they wanted to change their menu to fit it within our guidelines, where can they find that information? Where can they apply?
Trustee Dominguez, David Wines for the record. Same area on our food service website on ccsd.net/food service. They can reach out that way, and we've had vendors submit information. We've approved certain items and working with other vendors to, formulate a new recipe. So they're able to submit that to us.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Barron.
Sorry for that. Cancel myself out. Hey, thank you very much. I always appreciate that there will be an evolution as to how we're moving forward, and of course, providing nutrition for our kids. Very oftentimes, sometimes about half their caloric intake comes from our schools, right? And that's just a fact, a reality. Now, I was just thinking, though, thinking back to many other studies I've read, of course, documentaries I've seen. I myself, I saw a fantastic one, of course, from, I'm not going to mention the name, doesn't matter. But in the future, are we going to be giving any thought to caloric intakes and necessities based upon, student types. I guess what I'm referring to is, of course, the nutritional needs for one of our, athletes, a basketball player, a football player who might be like 275 pounds. One of our basketball players where she's playing, before school, after school, she's playing club. She's going to have a different, nutritional need compared to some kid who's maybe, a sculptor, right? Are we going to, and she might, and this student, he might only weigh like 110 pounds, right? Are we going to parse out? Are we going to have any research or anything to parse out and develop maybe some specifications or some requirements, to where we actually allow for different body types? And of course, nutrition has a lot to do with all sorts of wellness, not just the physical, but of course the emotional and the mental wellness. Are we looking at doing anything like that in the future? Academic wellness, yeah. Of course, if you're hungry, it's hard to stay focused, most especially like Barone's class where he's caught. Well, never mind.
Trustee Barone, David Wines for the record. Currently, our menus meet the federal standards. USDA sets forth the standards for breakfast and lunch based on a weekly basis. Certain subgroups of, vegetables, red, green, orange, et cetera. So we meet those minimum requirements that they have set out there for the week. So we can't offer more or less. We have to meet that the set standards. So that would be something to evaluate based on the federal standards aspect of it, because we still need to comply in order to get our reimbursement on a monthly basis.
But, okay, I totally get it. We have to meet the minimum. But that doesn't mean we couldn't, does that mean that we couldn't go over that minimum?
Trustee Barone, David Wines for the record, we cannot go over. There's requirements. You cannot exceed certain levels of calories within a week in certain subsets and so forth and so on.
Wow, I'm certain that our very active students, and again, our brains, they easily take in 1/3, to sometimes even 40% of our caloric intake, right? These kids, our little brainiacs and our top athletes, I'm sure they'd probably disagree with us as the adults. But that's just something for maybe us to work with someone else. I know you have to comply with federal law. I appreciate you doing with what you have to do, and it might be us to advocate for maybe going a little bit further, I think. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Trustee Satori?
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. I asked this question in briefing, but I do also want to ask it publicly as well, because my question is about, yes, these policies have been in place. This is, wording changes and such, but the majority of this has been in place for some time. So my question is about how the compliance, how will it be monitored, because it hasn't been being followed, since there is fast food and all of those things in our school. So how are we going to ensure that it is being complied with, and then what are the repercussions for not adhering to these policies?
Trustee Satori, David Wines for the record. Currently, my staff, I have region supervisors and supervisors that are out at each location. We are required to do site observations within those locations, not only for our standards, but also inclusive of the wellness policy. So we're reviewing this process as well. We will develop a better reporting structure to teaching and learning group from that standpoint to report that piece of it out. And remind me what your second question? Sorry. So globally, for us, the repercussions are the Nevada Department of Agriculture performs an administrative review every 5 years of food service operations from the child nutrition programs, and it's from an A to Z review. Part of the process is they will look at the wellness policy. Noncompliance in any area could ultimately result in them withholding our claim reimbursement on a monthly basis until we are compliant.
Has that happened in the past? Have there been schools who have been withheld? Or is it a school-based or is it a district-based withholding when that happens?
Trustee Satori, David Wines for the record, it's been expressed that it would be a district-wide process, withholding if that occurs.
Okay, and so that has not taken place to us?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, see no other questions. I'm going to go to public comment. Ms. Kreidel?
Good evening. My name is Vicki Kreidel, for the record, CCSD teacher, president of NEA of Southern Nevada. I'm glad that the federal government and Nevada Department of Agriculture gives guidelines for wellness policies. At one point, I was asked to be the wellness coordinator at an elementary school in North Las Vegas. I think this was around 2016. Before that time, I had never heard of these guidelines. Once I familiarized myself with them, I was rather surprised at how far out of compliance most schools were. Site wellness coordinators have to complete an online report and say whether our schools are in compliance or not. I can say with confidence that many CCSD schools are not in compliance with all parts of the guidelines. And the sad part is that if we were, our students would be better off. The instructional minute requirements in elementary schools right now make it extremely difficult for schools to follow the recommendations for minutes to eat breakfast, lunch, and recess minutes. I've done lunch duty daily for the last 3 years. And although we try as hard as we can to get our students in and seated to eat, they're not getting the recommended amount of minutes to eat lunch. We also share our campus with another school. Schools that are being rebuilt come on our campus for a year, so we're trying to juggle a lot of lunches. As a district, we do need to do better with this. All staff, including classroom teachers, should be fully informed of these wellness policies and the regulations. And we need to be absolutely sure that no school administrator is allowing classroom educators to take recess time away from our students. I quit at the end of the second year of being the wellness coordinator because I couldn't get that to stop at the school where I was at. And I didn't feel good filling out the report if we weren't in compliance. So this is a really important thing because the students who are having recess taken away from them are literally the students who need that recess time the most. And so I think that we could be in compliance with all our schools if we all work together, but the first step is to inform everyone of what the policies are, what's in them. And this year, my school has done a really good job with our snack shack. All snacks from the Smart Snack list are in our snack shack now. We don't sell anything what's on the list. And all schools should be doing that also. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is an action item, and so I will entertain a motion on 3.04. Okay, Trustee Satori, not all at one time. Wait.
I move to accept the motion as presented.
Thank you. I have a first to approve the notice of intent to adopt the Clark County School District Regulation 5157. And Trustee Biasotti?
I will second that motion.
Thank you. I have a first and a second. If you can please cast your votes. That passes 7-0. We're going to go ahead and move to item 3.05, Clark County School District Regulation 5135.4. If that team comes up. Bless you. Okay. Trustee, Superintendent Ebert, I'm sorry about the last one. Did you want to introduce the team? Or just say any comments? You don't have to.
Yeah, no, thank you. For the sake of time, I will allow the team to go ahead and move forward. They've done a lot of work, and this one hasn't been updated since 2005.
Okay.
So here we go.
Before we have you go, Mr. McPartlin, is there anybody that has not filled out a public comment card for 3.05? I haven't seen any. Going once. Okay, that one's closed. Go ahead, Mr. McPartlin.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert, Kevin McPartlin, Associate Superintendent for the record. I'm joined today by Pam Sloan, Director of Secondary Student Athletics and Activities, and Xavier Anthiam, Director of Student Athletics. We are here to present to you our notice of intent to revise Regulation 5135.4, which covers admission to athletic events. Our goals are to present the revisions to this 20-year-old regulation tonight and then bring it back to you at the regular board meeting on May 15th, 2025 for approval. Madam President, with your permission, I'll turn it over to Ms. Sloan, who's very excited to present this to you.
Does that to me every time. Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert, Pam Sloan for the record. As you haven't heard as of yet, this is a regulation that is 20 years old. All right, and it's time to update it. So I'm going to walk through the updates. I'll make it nice and easy. In section number 1, what we did is that we pretty much through the entire document, we just updated the language. We just modified it, simplified things. The one change in which we did in number 1 is that active and retired military used to pay $1 for admission. Now their entry is for free. The next one is that we did is in section number 3 for admission. We didn't do anything with the pricing for middle school. However, you will notice that we have one price point now for high school. And the main reason is because we're digital. Because we have digital tickets and we also have B and JV events the same night as a varsity event. And that's difficult when you're doing digital tickets. And Mr. Anthem shows up when kickoff of the varsity game and he purchased the JV ticket. Excuse me, sir, you owe me a little more money. So we've eliminated that. We've lessened the process. On page number 2, also number 3 on A, the family passes. We have increased the cost of the family passes from $60 to $75. And I will tell you, after a family attends 3 events, it'll pay for itself. And then that is it, and I'm open for questions.
Thank you. Okay, Trustee Cavazos, do you have a question, or do you want to stay in the queue?
No, I don't have a question. I just wanted to thank the team for their very straightforward and brief presentation. And I can tell how excited Ms. Sloan is just by looking at her. I can just tell how excited she is. It just overwhelms me. And, you know, we're doing this so quickly, 20 years, and we're going to do this already. So anyway, I'd like to make a motion to approve Agenda Item 3.05.
Thank you. I'll keep that in the queue. I want to see if any other trustees have questions. Trustee Biasotti, did you have a question?
Thank you, Madam President. I did have a question. The price increase for the tickets, is that because it's digital?
Thank you, Pam Sloan, for the record. Yes, and at the same time, like I mentioned, it's difficult because everyone purchases a digital ticket to show up to the game. And like I said, a lot of our games, we have a JV game that played prior to a varsity game. And it's tough because of the price point. It's tough because then we'd have to have, okay, for your digital ticket to work, you have to show up by this time. Otherwise, you'll have to go in and purchase another ticket because you can't necessarily just go in and add another $1 to your current digital ticket.
Okay, I think where I'm confused is why there is a price increase if it's digital.
No, the price increase, there's no increase. We just took the BJV pricing and matched it with the varsity. So we just have one price for all high school events.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Absolutely.
Great clarity. Trustee Dominguez, did you have a question?
No, Madam President, I just had a comment. I think this is awesome, and the military admission is a great idea. We have 2 military bases out here that are enormous, and they're great supporters of our students, and so I think this is a good thing. So thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Stevens, did you have a question?
Kind of just like maybe a recommendation. I think it's awesome. I've used it many times. One of the things that, and this might be for Todd, I'm not sure, but when it comes to the messaging to families about how to use it, one of the things that I've seen happen many times where families will get frustrated is sometimes the Wi-Fi doesn't work very well at the school. So if a parent doesn't download their ticket right then, like at home, then they show up to the game and they try to do it and it's not working. Then they have to walk all the way back out to the parking lot. And I've seen parents doing it, right? And that can be a little frustrating. So I would like to say that while I love this, it might be helpful that when families are first getting that information about how this works, it might be good for them to understand, hey, it's really a great idea to go ahead and download it at home, maybe take a screenshot of your ticket so you're good to go when you get there. It's just a recommendation.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I'll follow up on that. We've been working with the company, and they are going to provide a video for parents that schools can put on their website. Thank you.
Awesome. Trustee Biasotti, do you have another question?
No, I just wanted to make a motion to second the motion.
Thank you. I have a first by Trustee Cavazos, a second by Trustee Biasotti. Please cast your votes. Yeah, and for the record, we didn't have anybody sign up for public comment. Thank you for that, Vice President. And that motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Next, we're going to go to item 3.06. I'll turn this over to, I believe, Superintendent Ebert. Okay.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. For item number 3.06, we have an employment agreement for our Deputy Superintendent for Teaching and Learning. This is a name that you know well, you have vetted, you have reviewed, and he has sat at the dais and answered many questions for all of you. So for your consideration this evening and possible action, I am asking that you approve a contract with Dr. Jesse Welsh as the Deputy Superintendent for Teaching and Learning.
Thank you. With that, before I go to questions, was there anyone that did not get a chance to complete a public speaker card? I do have one, and that's from CCEA, but okay, hold on. All right, so I'm going to close those that want to speak on public comment. Doesn't mean we haven't heard you yet, but I'm going to take questions from the trustees first and then switch over. So Trustee Cavazos, do you have questions?
I do not have a question. I don't know if you wanted to go like with questions first or wait to make a motion, or if we can go ahead.
Questions first, and then I'm going to take public comment.
Okay, so I'll just hold on because
Okay.
I would like to state for the record that I would like to make a motion after
Thank
those
you.
things
Okay.
are taken care of.
I will come back to you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from trustees? Okay, seeing none. Marie, would you like to come forth, and also David Gomez? I don't know if he's in the audience. Oh. Please proceed.
Good evening, President Bustamante Adams, trustees. Marie Nices, President of CCEA. CCEA is the only official educator union recognized by the Clark County School District. As we begin a new chapter in CCSD, CCEA is optimistic about the future under Superintendent Ebert's leadership. For far too long, the district has faced negative perceptions, but we believe this is a turning point. With Superintendent Ebert at the helm, we are confident that CCSD can rebuild trust with educators, staff, and the community. A key first step in this process is assembling a strong, experienced administrative team, one that shares a clear vision and is committed to moving the district forward. Making thoughtful strategic hires in critical leadership positions is essential to setting the right course. Our students cannot afford further missteps. CCEA has confidence in Superintendent Ebert's ability to make the right decisions for the district's future. We look forward to continuing our collaborative relationship with Superintendent Ebert and supporting her as she builds a team she can trust. Once again, we welcome her leadership and are eager to see her vision for CCSD come to life. And I'd like to ditto that for the next agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Duly noted. Mr. Gomez, are you? Oh, there, I see you.
David Gomez, for the record, Nevada Peace Alliance president. I just wanted to say that I do support this measure that Joan Ebert, Superintendent Ebert, has put in place. She is going to need help, and this is the first time that someone has actually shown, listen, I need help. And this is a little bit bigger than we can handle at times, and I'm grateful that she's doing this. I'm just hoping that she has a good control over it, and she makes sure that things work so that we all have a transparency that we need. But I do support her in this measure, and I do support her choices and what she chooses, regardless of whether they got the superintendent position previously when they interviewed or not. But still, I'm going to support her in this measure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Trustee Cavazos, please, I will entertain a motion.
Thank you, Madam President. It is with great honor and pleasure that I am pleased to nominate to approve the motion to appoint Dr. Jesse Welsh as Deputy Superintendent, and I'm so pleased with Superintendent Ebert's new and creative plan to go with 2 deputy superintendents, and I think this is the first step in going forward in a very positive way. So it's my honor to make that motion.
Thank you. I have a first. Trustee Zamora?
Thank you, Madam President. I would love to second that motion.
Thank you. I have a first and a second. If you can please cast your votes. That motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Let's give a round of applause for Joe. Thank you. We're going to move over to item 3.07. I'll turn it back over to the superintendent. But before I do that, is anyone did not get a chance to complete a public speaker card? I don't have any. Do we have one? Oh, no, I do have one. I do have one other than Mr. Gomez, so I'll come back to you. Other than that, it's closed. Superintendent?
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. For your consideration this evening for item 3.07, employment agreement with for the Deputy Superintendent of Business Operations. For your consideration, we have Felicia Gonzalez. She has had a very successful career here within the Clark County School District, most notably being a principal supervisor was one of her last positions, but she also opened up the Southwest Career and Technical Academy. And with that skill set, she brings not only working with our facilities division, our technology, but the creativity and the vision and the inspiration for how we need to move forward as a school district. She brings that skill set. She also served as deputy superintendent at the Nevada Department of Education, led the recovery components, also worked with transportation statewide. So she brings a wonderful asset to our district. This is going to be covering those components of operations. The CFO will still report directly to me as the superintendent. So we split the prior position so that the chief financial officer can focus on our finances, and Deputy Gonzalez will focus on those other components with the great team that is here within the school district. So for your consideration, I am asking that you approve hiring of Felicia Gonzalez as Deputy Superintendent for Business Operations.
Thank you so much. Any questions? Trustee Barron, do you have a question, or you want me to hold it for a motion?
Well, actually, I would actually request the honor of making the motion, unless, of course, my colleague Ramona wants to beat me to it, and then maybe I'll second her motion.
Okay,
I
actually,
But,
so I don't think that you have a question either, right?
But no,
Okay,
well,
so
actually,
no.
I do want to commend Superintendent Ebert for making this very wise decision to parse out, these different responsibilities. Leadership is something hard to find. You can't just throw money at a situation and expect it's going to get better. You have to have the right people involved. I think you have the right guy, Mr. Data, Dr. Data over there, the data dude. Okay, I'm sorry, I stand corrected, the data dude, to handle, of course, the pedagogy. But the day-to-day stuff, everything from, if I'm right, she'll be handling things like operations, making sure our schools are clean, they're safe, making sure that transportation gets our children to school safely. A myriad of things that it's mostly just take it for granted, but you have to have someone that makes it work. I do believe that Felicia Gonzalez is the right person. And by the way, to reveal it, that's the person who was helping me back in first grade. No, seriously, literally, I still remember her, it's this one over here. And then Ms. Cox, Felicia, stop helping him. He's going to have to learn by himself, right? Yeah, 1975. No, I'm not. You know what? Hey, she is. Look, besides that, my relationship with her goes all the way back to first grade. But her family was picked as the Latino Family of the Year for the city of North Las Vegas for their commitment. She's part of that. In high school, she was part of she was the captain of a team that went 2 years undefeated and led the Rancho High School to 2 state titles. Not that there's any other people here, Ramona, on that hails from Rancho High School. Also, Ms. Williams, right, our compliance monitor. Anyhow, yeah, I am going to go definitely. I'm proud of that, but I'm really proud that we have a fantastic community member who's dedicated the majority of her life as an educator, and I am beyond being honored to have a person who, quite frankly, she's probably forgotten more about education than I've ever learned to actually present. So when it's time, I'd like to have that honor, unless, of course, someone else wants to.
Thank you, Trustee Barron. And I don't see anybody else in the queue that has questions, so I'm going to go to public comment. So, Mr. Gomez, if you could come forth.
Again, David Gomez for the record, Nevada Peace Alliance president. Man, Isaac, you have a way to make everybody look old, dude. But you know what? I just wanted to, like I said, the same comment I made before. We are supporting Joan Ebert in these measures, and we do believe and have trust in her leadership and what she's going to do. And obviously, I always consult with God before I do something, but this is something that we are going to put our faith in and have trust in because we can see real leadership when we see it. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, Trustee Barron, I will entertain a motion on item 3.07.
Yes, I'd like to make the motion, of course, to appoint, or just, I'd like to make the motion to do what the boss says.
Okay, and that is approval of the employment agreement for Ms. Gonzalez as the Deputy Superintendent of Business Operations. Trustee Ramona Esparza-Straffigan?
Wholeheartedly second that motion.
So I have a first and a second. If you could please cast your votes. And that motion passes 7-0. Let's give a round of applause. With that, Trustee Ebert, Trustee Barron said that, Superintendent Ebert, Trustee Barron said that it is her anniversary, and that's why she's not in the audience. But we wish her, that round of applause was for her. So we're going to go to 4.01, public comment. I have Vicky Kreidel and Mr. Gomez. Is there anybody else that hasn't completed a public comment card? Okay, Ms. Kreidel and Mr. Gomez, if you'd like to come forth.
Vicky Kreidel for the record. First of all, I want to share how wonderful Mikey Young has been at my school. Lomi G. Hurd, in the last few weeks, has been hiring a new principal. And Mikey showed up as soon as we found out what was going on. She stayed with us. She was available via email when we had concerns or questions. And she's really helped us go through this transition period. And now today we had our new principal come for the first time and meet the staff. And there's hope that we're going to move forward in a positive direction. So that was great. I really appreciate her. Also, I want to talk about the retaliatory culture that exists in the district. All staff members should feel comfortable coming here to speak directly to you, but the reality is that they do not feel safe. I know people who have come to speak and immediately felt retaliation at their site. This has been happening for years. That's why you mostly see me here. Not many other teachers show up. Some of us who speak frequently have also struggled to get hired at other schools because of our advocacy work. I hope we can change that culture within CCSD. It benefits our district to have strong advocates for our schools and our educators. We should be encouraging that, not discouraging it. We all know we're in an educator shortage, so why is it, while we're in a shortage, that administrators are allowed to push people into teaching subjects they're not experienced in or certified to teach? I am currently seeing administrators do this to people they want to push out of their school. And I get it. Administrators don't always like every teacher in their building. But putting educators in a situation where they're very unlikely to be successful is not what's best for kids. I would love to see us all treat people the way we would want to be treated, with dignity and respect, because whether you like me or not, we should all be able to work together to help our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gomez?
Okay, David Gomez for the record. I just came up here to pray for you guys. Pray for everyone. I know some don't believe in it. That's okay, but I'm still going to pray for you. We might have spits and spats, but I'm still going to pray for you. You know why? Regardless of where you guys walk, whatever religion you believe in, whatever the case might be, God is not religion. God is God. So I came up here just to pray, because we do not pray anymore in these buildings, and we need God in our country more than ever, and we need God in our boardrooms and in our schools and everywhere else. So, dear Heavenly Father, I come here to pray. I use my time to do this for everyone. I pray for our trustees, I pray for our superintendents, and I pray for all the people that are in this staff. I pray for the members in this room, and I pray for the people outside this room. May you guide them and be with them always. May you give them discernment, and may you give them what they need at the time of need. Lord, help them to help our students, help the children that you call dear to you, the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And Lord, I will always bring you before anyone and everyone, and it doesn't matter who it is and what it is, whether they condemn me, they crucify me, or they persecute me. But Lord, you always come first. And these people, they need you more than ever. And I pray for them, and I pray for their families and the ones that are struggling with family members that are suffering. And please be with them always, continuously, even though at times we do agree to disagree. But Lord, you are always the first, the Alpha and Omega. And I say these things in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. The next is 5.0, upcoming meeting announcements. Our next meeting will be on Wednesday, May 7th, 2025 at 4 p.m. here in this boardroom. At that time, I will now move to agenda item 6.0. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Trustee Cavazos.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn at 7:39 p.m.
Thank you. Trustee Satori.
I will second that motion.
Okay, please cast your votes. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Have a great evening.